Hey guys, just want to show you a quick little tutorial on these masks that I've been sewing. There's the outside, there's the inside of it. I've been sewing these masks with an opening in the lining so you can put an additional filter or another mask or something in there. If you wanted to put a HEPA filter or a vacuum bag inside of there for extra protection, you can. So I'll just show you the steps that I've used to make these masks. So I've gotten this pattern from Pinterest and I've cut it out. When I cut it out, it said to add a quarter of an inch for seam allowance. So I just made my own. So I cut it out and then I just added the seam allowance to it. And I found for the outside piece to add an inch, it just seems to fold a little bit better, and the inside lining to keep it this size and the outside to make it this size. So what I did is I cut them out and I put right sides facing each other for the outside, and then for the lining pieces I've put them right sides together, and then quarter of an inch seam allowance, go ahead and stitch right down through here. So I've already done that to the outside and the lining piece. Then once you finish this, go ahead and take some scissors and just put a couple of little slits, just little snips right in here and all the way, just like that. So when you flip these right sides out, they're not, you won't have any problems. Make sure not to cut your thread though. And so this is the little bit heavier material. This is the outside. Go ahead and take this, and it just makes it easier whenever you go to flip it right side. So pull the right side out and go ahead and stitch along here as a top stitch right through your machine. And then once you flip it right sides, here I'll show you, I did this one with the top stitch. So it just, when you flip it, it makes it real nice and lays really well. And you can see I did the little cuts in here and I top stitched it, so that'll make it real nice and lay really well. And then once you finish that, keep it right sides together, that and your lining piece. Make sure you go right sides together. Actually, once you finish stitching this, what I found next was easiest if I folded this over at this stage. So then I went through and folded these over. I used an iron to press it, but you don't have to. Just was easier for me. So you just fold that over and fold that again, and then just so you don't have any exposed raw edges, and then stitch that right there. I did that on both sides, and there you go. And then I did the little notches out along here as well. Then I put both of these together, right sides facing each other. You can see that the back of the fabric is there and there. And I've just pinned those together. And I just sewed, I came down about a quarter of an inch, or maybe even a little bit more, and just right across the top. And you can see I've done that here. And I've gave myself, like I said, just a little extra, because this next thing is you're going to straight stitch for everything so far, and then you're going to zigzag this right into the top. And I went back and forth a few times there, and then straight over across the top here. These wire pieces I got are like a floral wire or a craft wire. It's super thin, and I just find that they're just really nice for the nose area, to just kind of hold that a little bit better than just the fabric. So I stitched those in and zigzag those. Make sure when you're zigzagging that you don't cross over this line of this stitch line there, and I'll show you here one I've already done. There you go, just zigzag back and forth across the top and here. And then the next thing I did was stitch across the bottom. So I made sure that I lined it up real well with the seams right here, and stitched across, and same thing. So I've already stitched this, so you can see, just stitched it right across and got that in, top stitched all of that. And then you can go ahead at this point, you've got the right sides facing each other, you've already got this sewed down, At this point, you go ahead and flip it right side. And show you that real quick. Pull that on through. And then at this point, I actually will usually go ahead and iron it just because it makes it easier. So you will go ahead and iron that down and stitch straight across. Do a top stitch on this, straight across here, and here on the bottom part of the mask. And then make sure that whenever you're doing it on the top of here, that you line it up real well. And when I do just a straight stitch across, so make sure, because you'll have just done a zigzag stitch, make sure you turn it to a straight stitch. And just make sure you're just really mindful that whenever you're stitching here, once you hit about here, you'll come across the metal nose piece. So just make sure you don't iron on, or you don't stitch on top of that, because you might break a needle. So just make sure you go right next to it. And then I'll show you one that I have already stitched. You can see right there, I've just stitched straight across the top and right across the bottom. So once that's done, then you should be at the place. There's the top and the bottom stitched together. And then one of the last things you do is just fold that over and fold that over. Like I said, I added an extra inch on this bit just because I thought it would be easier. So go ahead and do a straight stitch across here. I actually went across and I came back, so I double stitched it just to add a little extra support in there. And then you can see here is the finished one. And then right in through here is where you can feed your elastic. Now the elastic that I used was this stuff I ordered on Amazon, and it's like hair tie basically. And I used I think it was either 8.5 or 9.5 inches, just depends on how long you want to have it. I also on the floral wire I used 4 inches on this. And like I said, 8.5 or 9 inches on that, and then I just tied it, and then I hid the knot right in there. And like I said, you can just add your own filter if you like. And this is just like quilting cotton, and I used everything's 100% cotton. So there you go. Hope that's helpful to you guys, and if you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a line and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, thanks guys, happy sewing.